Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome to our Shabbat Shavuot experience. We are blending together a number of technologies this evening. Not only are we streaming to our YouTube channel so that all of you out there in YouTube land are able to see our worship service, but we are also internally doing a Zoom interactive kind of experience, which gives us the opportunity to bring in members of our congregation for an interactive kind of study, which we are going to do this evening. This evening's service will be a bit different. We're going to create more of a Kabbalat Shabbat service with our cantor's help and with our accompanist, Dr. Ray Irwin's help. We are going to celebrate a musical Shabbat, interspersed with thoughts, readings, and meditations, and then do a breakout session for some Torah text study. Those of you watching on our YouTube channel will be part of one of our breakout study sessions, and will be able to observe and hear the conversation and the dialogue and the questions. Unfortunately, it will not be interactive. You will not be able to participate in the actual discussion itself, but we hope that you get something out of observing the discussion. We hope that the text and the questions will challenge you for your own answers as well. With that, I'm going to turn to all of our attendees. Welcome all of our you here so that you can all say hi. And what we're going to do is all to say Shabbat Shalom. All who are attending there. Plus, you'll be able to hear. Our Shabbat Shalom greeting for everyone.
Okay, we should be good now.
All right. Apparently, we have a green launch signal from our technical folks. And so I'm going to mute my computer here. So make sure that doesn't. Oh, well, but then, Phil, if you need to reach me, shoot me a text or something, okay? There. If you need to reach me, Phil, shoot me a text. So we are going to greet everybody with a Shabbat Shalom. On the count of three. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, wonderful, terrific. Thank you all very much. I am going to. Wait, there we go. So as we look out to our Zoom audience, terrific. Welcome back once again. Shabbat Shalom to everyone, and thank you to all of our Zoom attendees for a wonderful Shabbat Shalom greeting to everyone. In addition to the greetings of our congregation, I bring you special greetings from Bob and Rita Rubin, Harry and Victoria Jacobs, Jeff and Wilma SHIR, who are supporting our congregation with our Shabbat greetings drive. Harry and Victoria both are members of our Temple Beth Or board. Great to have your support. And Jeff is a past president of our congregation. Thank you very much, Jeff. Our virtual flowers are sponsored by Bob and Rita Rubin in honor of their 52nd wedding anniversary. And Bob and Rita, arriving in the mail in a few days to you, will be our now definitely world famous birthday certificates. This certificate went out in today's mail to you. It reads, Mishaberach Avotenu Vimotenu. May God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob, Rachel and Leah, bless Bob and Rita Rubin on the occasion of their 52nd anniversary. May the love that binds them continue to be strong and lasting. May their hearts be filled with patience and understanding for one another. And may their home continue to be a sanctuary built on devotion to each other and to God. Presented this 7th day of Sivan in the year 5780, the 29th day of May in the year 2020, by your congregation, Temple Beth Or, signed by myself, our cantor, and our president, Dina Jastrock. Bob and Rita, mazel tov to you. Happy anniversary to you. Thank you for sponsoring our virtual flowers in honor of your anniversary. And together with our cantor, we join in the Shehechianu, our prayer expressing our gratitude at being able to celebrate with Bob and Rita their 52nd wedding anniversary.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, shehecheyanu vekimanu vehigiyanu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, shehecheyanu vekimanu vehigiyanu lazman hazeh.
Mazel tov to you, Bob and Rita. And now I turn to our president, Dina Jastrock, for words of greeting. One moment, Dina. Let me do a couple of things here. Let me unmute you, and then let me spotlight you. Dina, the lights behind you are very bright, but glad to have you with us nonetheless.
That's Charlene.
Oh, that's Charlene. Hi, Charlene. What are you doing there? That was not supposed to be. Oh, there you are. Let's try this one. There.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. We have our usual assortment of meetings, all by Zoom. I first of all wish to wish Robert and Rita Rubin a happy anniversary. Mazel tov, 52 years. That's wonderful. We're only 6 years behind you. To remind you, tomorrow morning at 10:30, we have our online Torah study. Tuesday, we have tea on Tuesdays at 2, coincidentally, with Rabbi Mark, where we discuss a variety of subjects or just chat and visit, which is always nice. Most importantly, next Monday, June 8th at 7:30, we have our general membership meeting via Zoom. This is the election of officers. I urge you please to look at your email in which you can vote online. If you open the email, there is a link there that you tap on to open, and you can say yes, no, or abstain, and your vote will be registered. So please be sure to do that so that we have your vote by the time of the meeting. Other than that, it's the usual course of meetings and things going on. Naughty Ladies at Tuesday. You're welcome, Helene, and Shabbat Shalom to you all.
Wonderful. Shabbat Shalom. Excellent. We continue welcoming Shabbat with the lighting of our Shabbat candles. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, source of all being, who calls us to holy acts through mitzvot and inspires us to light these lights of Shabbat. We continue with the words of our Kiddush. There was evening and there was morning, a sixth day. Now the heavens and the earth were all completed with all that contained. And on the seventh day, God completed all the divine labor of creation and ceased on the seventh day from all the divine labor which God made. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, for on that day God ceased from all the work of creation that God had made.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehila lemikra'ei kodesh zecher letziyat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim b'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uv'ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. Shalom.
A Jew who feels a real connection with the life of his or her people throughout the generations will find it utterly impossible to think of the existence of the Jew without Shabbat. One can say without exaggeration that more than the Jew has kept Shabbat, has the Shabbat kept the Jew. We continue with Lecha Dodi, a song welcoming the presence of Shabbat into our lives as a special friend, a guest, indeed, as a bride who visits with us. Lecha Dodi.
La la lecha dodi, likrat kala, panei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, panei Shabbat nikabela. La la lecha dodi, likrat kala, panei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi.
The meaning of the Sabbath is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week, we live under the tyranny of things, of space. On the Sabbath, on Shabbat, we try to become attuned to the holiness in time. It is a day when we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נחל, עלי היגיון מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארנן.
The world is fast losing its soul and its mind, but you do not have to surrender yours. You do not have to live on a mechanical globe. You do not have to tame your deep forest passions. You do not have to suppress your radiant beauty. Live your joy. Don't be made timid by worried rejection. Let nature's curious wisdom fill you. Let the world's mystical heritage guide you. Paint your canvases, play your tunes, give your all to the words that are born from you. Your fathers and your mothers heaven will never abandon you, but always love the scintilla of your spirit.
Lai lai
Very peppy. Beautiful. Thank you, Cantor.
Oh. If you're lost, you feel afraid, and you don't know what to say, then listen, listen to our God. Is there a question on your mind? Is the answer hard to find? Then listen, listen to our God. Listen with all your heart and soul, and with all your might. Write them and learn them and teach them well, every morning and night. Close your eyes and listen. Quiet yourself, there's nothing to say. Stop all the chatter that gets in the way and listen, listen to our God. When the wind and the thunder finally disappear, there's still a voice that you will hear if you listen, listen to our God. You can hear it from the top of the highest hill, or from the valley below. It can come from the edge of the universe. It can come from within your soul. Close your eyes and listen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod, Malachuto Leolam Va'ed. Listen, listen to our God. Listen, listen to our God.
The holiness of this day is not for this day alone. We must make it overflow into all of our minutes, to hallow our weekdays from these sacred moments, and hour by hour make the world a sanctuary where every human soul might be at home. Oh, may the awe we feel at times at the miracle of one another united in prayer, especially in this internet streaming format, truly what a miracle it is. May this awe that we feel be with us tomorrow. May the awe we feel at times at the miracle, yes, and keep tenderness in our words, our touch, and our look. Praise be Adonai for the Sabbath and its holiness. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat.
V'shamru, v'shamru,
Praise me, says God, and I will know that you love me. Curse me, says God, and I will know that you love me. Praise me or curse me, and I will know that you love me. Sing out my graces, says God. Raise your fist against me and criticize, says God. Sing your graces or criticize. Criticizing is also a kind of praise, says God. But if you sit fenced off in your apathy, says God, if you look at the stars and yawn, if you see suffering and do not cry out, if you don't praise and you don't criticize, if you do nothing, then I created you in vain. As we continue to reel from the effects of this COVID-19 pandemic, as our nation has crossed the death of 100,000 with many more still sick, we take our time during this part in our worship service to offer our prayers for hope and for healing, not only to those who are suffering from this pandemic, but in particular in our nation from those who are suffering from acts of violence. Our world has been shaken not only by this pandemic, but by the news and the deaths that have taken place through acts of violence, violence from our police officers, violence from individuals. We include all who are suffering in our prayers for wholeness and for healing. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu, may the one who blessed our ancestors bless all those who put themselves at risk to care for the sick, our physicians and nurses, orderlies, patient transporters, hospital cleaning staff, security guards, technicians, home health aides, EMTs, and pharmacists, all who navigate the unfolding dangers of the world each day to tend to those they have sworn to help. May they be blessed in their coming home and blessed in their going out. May the sacred work of their hands be blessed, and may they bring strength and healing to those they serve. We include those members of our congregational family, their family and their friends, who are facing challenges to their health and their well-being. May the knowledge of your presence help ease their fear, sustain them, and give them strength. May the time come soon when they and when all of us can breathe without fear. Baruch atah Adonai Rofei HaCholim. We praise you, O God, who helps us bring hope and healing to those who are in need. And I invite you during the musical interlude between the paragraphs to share aloud the name of a loved one. Thus we might bring them into our hearts at this time. Judaism teaches us the world is sustained by three things: by Torah, by service, by study, Torah and study, by service and prayer, and lastly, by Gemilut Chasadim, by acts of loving kindness. This last pedestal of these three pillars, if you will, of our world are so desperately needed as we reel from the acts of violence that is taking place across our nation. May these words inspire us to act and to be and to bring these three pillars back into the world to help stabilize it and to help uphold it. Al Shlosha Devarim.
Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam, Ha'olam Omed. Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam, Ha'olam Omed. Al HaTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim. Al HaTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam, ha'olam omed.
So on this eve of Shavuot Day, a day that commemorates the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai, a day that celebrates our connection with our past, and a day upon which we challenge ourselves to wrestle with the words of this tradition. That is exactly what we are about to do now in our Zoom groups. And those of you joining us on our YouTube channel, you too will be included in one of these Zoom groups where we have several texts. 5 of our congregants have offered to lead us in a text study. They include Leslie Berger, Deborah Goldfarb, Karen Youngman, Joe Tejas, and Peggy Horwitz. Each one of them have a separate text. We're going to spend the next 20 minutes or so engaged in some text study. We will then regroup back here in our big group setting and have a chance to hear a quick summary about the studies that took place, and then we will conclude our worship service. We engage in study, we wrestle with text, because the more we understand our past, the more we understand our present. And certainly our nation has not had the opportunity to wrestle with its past to the degree that it should. And so we are going to wrestle with some text that might help enlighten us about human nature, that might help enlighten us about to understand ways in which human beings interact with each other, and most importantly, ways in which we might bring scriptural verses to life through our study and our engaging in, yes, disagreements and discussions, absolutely. And so I will send our groups off to their breakout rooms here in just a moment. Yes, we are going to be able to do this. Oh boy, here it goes. I'm going to open all rooms. Instructors, you have 20 minutes. I will give you a 10-minute warning, and then you'll get a 60-second warning when your group is going to end. Happy discussion, happy study. We'll see you all very soon in 20 minutes. Have a good discussion. No. Okay, we've got a few more to assign. Thank you, Sandra Strauss. And Charlene's coming back in. Hold on, I will be getting you to various rooms. Let's get Phil off to room number 2. Okay. Sandra Block will assign to room number 1. And Phil Carey will assign to room number 2. And Janet Krabenhoff to room number 3. And Sandra Strauss to room number 5. Off you go. The unassigns are assigned. A couple people are having trouble getting in.
Want to try again? No? Okay, and we have, I see that we have the another group with us. Oh, here we go. Excellent. Okay, so the Mackenzies, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi. Hi, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rosalie McKenzie, and this is Ted Nichols.
Nice to meet you, Ted. And Rosalie, nice to see you. Okay, we're still flipping back and forth here. We have some more people coming in. Lynette, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi there. I'm Lynette Austin. I've been a member all my life. And Shabbat Shalom to everybody.
Phil, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Phil Carey, and I'm in Washington State. I'm also running all the video stuff, so it's interesting. The view that you see in the middle is what we're actually broadcasting on YouTube, and then you can see me somewhere on here.
So where is it on YouTube? Because I tried to find it and couldn't find it.
If you go to YouTube and search for Temple Beth or La Mirada,
Yeah, I did.
then our channel should come up, or you can go to tbolm.org and click on the link there, or you can look at your emails for the e-blast and find the link there. It's in very many places.
Okay. Now I went on to YouTube and couldn't find you guys.
We were having trouble hearing.
You are now?
Not now, but we were
Okay.
having trouble hearing we've never had before.
Right, right. Yeah, it's a little bit different when we do it through Zoom this way. So I see that we have Joyce Kessler and May as well. They keep flipping in and out. They may be having some internet problems, but you'll see them. There they are. Hello, guys. How are you?
Hi, Joyce and May.
Hello. Okay. So we have, did everyone get the text beforehand? Have you looked at
Yes.
it? Okay. And if you haven't, I can share it with everyone as well. So I'll do that just so that we make sure that everyone is following along. So give me a second here.
Whoop.
Okay. You should be able to see the text.
Right.
Okay. Great.
Here.
Excellent. Okay.
Read it better there.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure who we're hearing, but okay. Should be able to see. Okay, Sergio, I think we might be hearing your other thing. You might want to mute yourself.
Read it better there.
Yes.
You can hear me, correct?
Now we can, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, good. You want to introduce yourself? Sure, who we're hearing.
Are you talking to me now?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Sergio Sanchez Bootsman, and this is a pleasure for me right now. I'm at home.
We might be hearing your other thing. You might want to mute yourself. Great. Okay, so our text tonight.
You can hear me, correct?
Now we can, yes.
Okay.
Good. You want to introduce yourself? Sure, who we're hearing. So
Are you talking to me now?
Yeah, I am. Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Sergio Sanchez Bootsman, and this is a pleasure for me right now. I'm at home.
We might be hearing your other thing. You might want to mute yourself. Great. Okay, so our text tonight.
You can hear me, correct?
Now we can, yes.
Okay.
Good. You want to introduce yourself? Phil, do you have any suggestions on how we stop all this feedback?
Well,
Okay.
somebody
Hi,
has some
everybody. I'm
noise in the
Sergio
background that
Sanchez
we're
Bootsman,
hearing.
and this is a pleasure for me right now.
Hold on, let
I'm
me see
also
if I can
hearing
hear.
the same thing over and over, things we've already said.
You're up.
Okay, now we're good.
We see
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Okay, yes, okay,
These are all the people that are in this room with us right now.
right. Okay, so our text this evening is from Deuteronomy 29, 13, and 14. And I'll read it for you as well, and then we'll launch right in, and you can tell me what you think of it. But God says, I am making this covenant and this oath not only with you, rather, I am making it both with those who are standing here with us this day before Adonai our God, and also with those who are not here with us this day. So there's an interesting juxtaposition there saying there's everybody here. The story that we know when Moses goes up to God is saying, this is not only for you people that are standing here, but it's for those who are not here today. So,
Oh, somebody.
Well, obviously, for those that were there, they got the gist of what God was talking about, or Moses. But he meant to for all future generations, because they were not there yet.
So, and those generations in what way?
Excuse me?
In what way was he saying that he was giving it to those generations? How was he giving it to them?
Well, for those people that accepted the Torah, that's how he gave it to them, that covenant.
Right. So some commentators say that he was also referring to souls, that everyone's soul, even those who were not yet born, we're given a soul that is from God, supposedly. And so therefore, those souls, our souls, yours and mine, were created way back then.
Way back then, when God breathed into the bodies of Adam, especially Adam.
Right. Okay.
That was the spirit of God.
Mhm. So, anybody else? Does that seem far-fetched? Does that resonate?
Well,
with people?
it's interesting that the only humans that are the ones that have souls. No one else can have a soul but human.
Mhm. Mhm. Right. Rosalie, what do you think of that?
I disagree that only humans can have a soul.
Mm. Okay.
I mean, and I think some animals have souls.
Uh-huh. So perhaps do animals receive the Torah, though? Perhaps.
Once again,
I said, do animals receive the Torah as well?
No, not at all. No.
So there's more than one way to look at this. The mystics said some rabbis said that there were only a certain number of souls that were ever created. So if they were created by God in the beginning, there was a finite number, and that maybe now in our modern times, that seems a little bit unbelievable, because there were not nearly as many people on earth at that time. So if God made enough souls for the number of people in a finite number, now our population is much larger. So it's difficult to understand, perhaps, but God works in wondrous ways, so perhaps it does make sense. The mystics said that each person is given a number, so that if the first group of Israelites got those souls when they passed away, those souls, almost like reincarnation, those souls come back into someone else's body at that point.
Big
So,
also, yeah.
But also reincarnation, we have 613 mitzvot. Some of them are men, some of them are for female. So at some point, if they say once you fulfill them all, then you go to the Garden of Eden.
There's no
So,
return.
so at some point, you got to come back to fulfill some of the males and then some of the female part of it.
Interesting. I've never heard that before. So.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense. I mean, how can you fulfill all the mitzvot if you only come back once? And there are too many of them to fulfill in one lifetime.
Right. Interesting. So I'm going to read another piece of this, and it gets to some of what we were talking about. Our rabbis teach the verse does not stay standing here with us today, but rather not with us here this day, a way of referring to souls that are destined to be created in the future. So that's a third way of looking at it. So that there weren't just a finite number, but that would be the more unique souls, and that later, our souls had been created, but they weren't used yet. They were going to be used later. Because those souls had no substance as yet, Moses did not use the word standing for them. Still, even though they did not as yet exist, each one received his or her share of the Torah. Nor were the future prophets the only ones who received their share of the Torah. The sages who were to rise in each and every generation, each and every one of them also received Sinai, the wisdom God was to utter. Okay, so what do we think of that?
Well, I guess they're still talking about reincarnation.
Seems like it, doesn't it? Now, I don't think we are used to thinking of Judaism as a religion that believes in reincarnation, are we?
Somebody has a radio or TV on.
Right. So, Joyce.
Yes.
Do you think of Judaism as a religion that believes in reincarnation?
No, I don't.
Yeah. So, but there seems to be an insinuation that some rabbis did believe that. It's not something that we study.
I think this is I can't remember who said it. This is life is not a dress rehearsal. This is the real thing. I don't think of an afterlife, and I think that the soul that we have is passed on down, and we end up with a mixture of all of the past as well as our own experiences, and in turn we pass that on to the next generation, which is, I think, what this is saying. Those that are not standing here with us today, the future generation and those to come way down the line, that's what we're passing on, and that's what they passed on to us.
So to our children and grandchildren. Right.
Yeah. And if you don't have children or grandchildren, I think that it doesn't just die with you. I think that it's passed on to other family members. Your soul can be a part. There are times that I think that
Okay, sorry about that. We lost Joyce for a second.
are thinking.
There she is.
And I think that that's passed on, whether we know it or not. I mean, we don't willingly do it. It just.
Okay. Lynette, what do you think of that?
Oh, with the, yeah, I guess I kind of believe in reincarnation. I mean, there's, you know, if you look at, you know, kids who are, you know, 4 and 5 years old, 3 years old, being able to play a piano, like, you know, from that young, you got to be able to bring it over with you.
The talents.
Correct. Or if you know, there's young people who invent stuff at a very young age. You know, it's like, where did this come from? And like I said before, with the mitzvot, having to fulfill them, you know, if you only have one life, then you can't fulfill them all. And I understand some of them are so obsolete, you know, that way back when, that even in this life, there's no way of fulfilling it. Just because there's some of them were so out there.
Right. When I teach Sunday school, I show the kids the list of the 613 mitzvot, and there are some that are obscure, definitely.
Correct.
Yeah. Yep.
I guess
so. One of the other ways that this kind of relates to the Book of Ruth, which is read on Shavuot, is that for many people who convert to Judaism, this is a very meaningful concept as well. So that even before they knew that they were going to be Jewish, that they were Jewish. And God gave them a Jewish soul, if you will, even before conversion. So I think that's a pretty common way that people who convert connect to this. And so it is interesting that that's read at the same time that we read the Book of Ruth, who was one of the first, or the first supposedly convert to Judaism. Any other thoughts about this and what resonates with you about it?
Now, isn't it part of the Judaism that there is no afterlife?
Not necessarily. We've been studying some of this in the Torah study on Saturday morning, and there's a lot of different ways you can interpret, as you know, things that the Torah says, but there definitely was some, among many rabbis, there was a strong sense that there was an afterlife, and others don't talk about it so much. So not unlike how we interpret things today. There are definitely a lot of indications in the Torah that there was a belief in an afterlife.
No one comes back and tells us that there is or there isn't.
Well, unless you believe in ghosts or spirits.
Yeah.
Yep. That's true.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Phil, haven't heard from you. It's your turn.
Okay, well, I'm trying to keep myself muted because I've got some background noise going on because I'm also monitoring what's being broadcast. So let me
Okay.
turn that down for a moment. Okay, well, I personally believe that you have one chance at life, that once you do it, it's done. I don't personally believe in reincarnation. And I'm a subscriber to the free will of people. I'm not sure about an afterlife because no one's been able to come and tell me anything about it. So I just don't know. So I guess to hedge my bets, sure, there's an afterlife, but yeah, I really don't
You're a
know.
skeptic. You're a skeptic.
There's
Yeah.
something on the screen. Hold on a minute.
It's saying
Guys,
we have 41 seconds.
Yeah, we're getting ready to go back to the larger group.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. So I think, again, it always fascinates me how you can take one verse like this and come up with many different interpretations. And obviously the rabbis came up with many different interpretations as well. But I thank you all for joining in our Torah study. And
Thank you.
hopefully we can do this again next year, maybe in person again. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
People are flooding back in to our big group. Excellent. Good to have everybody back with us. I know it was a difficult, we had some technical difficulties there. So I apologize for those of you who got kicked out of our discussion group or were unable to participate in the discussion group. I hope that you were. We have a number of folks, again, our 5 text leaders. And what I'd like to do is just hear a quick little snippet of things that were discussed. Leslie, we will start with you. In your group, you were looking at the creation of human beings and a horrible mistranslation where the Hebrew word Adam is translated as Adam as a masculine name. And some of the Midrash indicated to us that Adam was created, is called Adam because Adam comes from the Adamah, that there is, we are earthlings, we come right out of this planet, and also some other curious phrases where God says, let us. So Leslie, what kinds of things came out in your discussion group? Oh, be sure to let me find you and let me unmute you, and then we will do it that way. Oh, thank you. Even better. Leslie, you are in a moment. There you go. You are unmuted. What happened?
We were struggling a lot with the us and our image.
Mm-hmm.
Like if this is the beginning and it was just God and then there was an earthling, who is the us and who is the our? If God said, let us make an earthling, we don't know who us is. Because even though, even though the man and woman were created after the animals, it just didn't make sense.
Got it. So yes, who is the us that God was speaking to? Our rabbis often get puzzled by this as well, because God says, let us make humans. Some of the rabbis suggest that God was consulting with all of the animals. Some say God was consulting with the angels. We are the last things to appear in the process of creation and evolution. And so those are some of the things. And some of the rabbis suggested that God was just talking to God's self and using the royal we. How are we feeling today? So very good. Very good. Well done. Thank you very much. We will shift now to Deborah Goldfarb. And if I can spell her name correctly. There you are. Deborah, let me bring you up and let's unmute you. What was your group dealing with?
Okay, we were looking at the giving of the Torah at Sinai and the verse that says, I'm making this covenant and this oath not only with you, but rather with those who are standing here with us this day, and also with those who are not here with us this day. So we wrestled with the idea of what does that mean? And was every soul created at that time by God or before that by God? Some of them were kept in suspension, perhaps, until the time that we would need those souls, or each of us would be here today. And so therefore our soul was there even if our body wasn't there. Raised a lot of questions, though, because some rabbis say that there are only a finite number of souls. So if there are a finite number, that would infer then that there's something like reincarnation in Judaism. So we had a discussion about that. Many people said, nah, I can't buy that. Others said, yeah, I do believe that. And one reason that one person believed that is because if there are 613 mitzvot that we need to do, very difficult, perhaps even in one lifetime, to do that. And if we were put here to do that, it may take more lifetimes for us to get there.
Interesting. Fascinating. Thank you. Thank you very much, Deborah. We will turn next to Karen Youngman and her group. Just a moment, Karen. Let me bring you up here and do that and unmute. I can't seem to unmute you. So there you go.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Great. So
we had a good juicy one. I was excited about this one. And Barry was our sole very brave male participant out of all these women. So I need to read a little bit about it. When Moses went up to God and when Moses went to God and Adonai to tell him to come from the mountain, here's what you are to say to the house of Yaakov. Now, the house of Yaakov refers to women, and the people of Israel refer to the men. Now, the women, according to the rabbis and Talmud, were told that they only needed the essentials, the generalities of mitzvot in a way that they could understand. Whereas the people of Israel, the men, they were given the details and they were given the substance of Talmud. So this actually brought up some great discussions. Why are women only given the essentials, the tidbits, and the men were giving the meat of it, the meat of the Talmud? What was the meaning? So some of the discussion was at that time or today, and especially more in the Orthodox community, women are considered pure already, and men need to go to synagogue and study Talmud to become as pure as the women, while they're at home with 10 children and cooking and cleaning. So Barry, way to go, Barry. He was on our side, on the side of not understanding why women were not deemed to hold and study Talmud the way men were able to study.
An excellent observation. And David, who's here, says, we'll talk more about that this evening when he gets
Oh, yeah, right.
But
yeah,
you're
right.
You're
He does the cooking, by the way, so okay.
you are absolutely correct to note that disconnect. And many of us, males today, feel that the rabbis shortchanged the women by excluding them from that, and instead choose to see in this verse that both men and women were actually equally commanded, although the Talmud seems to differentiate it, because God tells Moses to go speak to the men and the women, the house of Jacob and the people of Israel. And so both were included. So many of us choose to go that route with that. But thank you. I'm glad you guys had a wonderful conversation. Thank you very much. We are going to continue with Joe Tejas here and his group. Joe, let me bring you up here. You are also working on some text. Please tell us briefly what your group was looking at.
Okay, our text was Exodus 24:7. where Moses reads the book of the covenant to the people and they respond. And they're saying, okay, everything that God has said, Adonai has said, we will do. And then we had a lot of discussion about the very last word, a translation of Nishma, whether it's going to be we obey or we hear, or we listen or hearken. And so our discussion did focus on that. So we talked about the idea that in Reform Judaism, we promote the idea of questioning, of rational thinking about the things we do, as opposed to perhaps 2,000 years of history in the Orthodox community, which might be a bit more of, you're going to do this first, and then you can ask me and I'll give you the explanation after of why you did it, but you're going to do it. And so we talked about being raised in that way when it happens. It's something you expect in a household. Your father is going to tell you to do things, and you might say, "Don't ask me now." And you're expected as an authority figure, you're going to do it immediately. He'll probably explain around why he wants you to do things a certain way. I know my mom always told us we had to do things a certain way, and she told us why it was the best way, besides being her way. But that was because we were children. So in this situation, are we like the children of God, where we're going to do what he says, and then afterwards we get a chance to ask him? And then we wrapped it up by asking ourselves, when is it appropriate just to act? Like Flo was saying, if you're in a place and someone yells fire, you're going to act immediately. You're not going to question where's the smoke, what's burning, how close is it. You're going to act immediately. So there are situations where it is important to act, and then afterwards ask or question what's going on, depending on the authority of who's saying it and where you are.
Interesting. Yes, an interesting dilemma. Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do, and then we will hear or understand or obey, and how we translate that word and what that means. Thank you, Joe. Sounds like you had a lively conversation with your group. Thank you very much. Lastly, we bring up Peggy Horwitz, who is teacher extraordinaire. She is part of our religious school staff as well. Let me bring you up, Peggy, and let me unmute you. There you go, Peggy.
Okay.
Hi there. And your group, please, if you would tell us a bit about your text and discussion.
We mainly dealt with the people saw the voices and the idea of seeing what you should still be able to hear. And this was by Rabbi Yehuda Aryeh Leib, and he was known as a more mystical kind of man. We really struggled. We brought up the idea of the scientific terms, synesthesia, where Vasily Kandinsky had painted for music, and that this is not an unscientific happening, but of course we're having a whole people who are hearing this voice of God, and then that they are seeing it. And one of our participants brought up that, well, since voice and thunder are the same word, since we can see lightning, why can't we see these voices too? Which I thought was quite interesting. And we also discussed how hearing is more subjective and seeing is more objective.
Very good. Wonderful.
And I want to continue with this because I told him, email me, text me, let's keep.
That's right. We will continue. We will continue the discussions. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Peggy. I thank all of our group leaders. Thank you so very much for leading our conversations. We're going to conclude with, this is Shavuot. about the Torah. And although we're bringing our Torah study to a close for this evening, we don't bring our Torah study to a close. We will continue studying Torah tomorrow morning, as a matter of fact. We will continue each and every day studying text and finding ways to make sense out of both ancient text and in our times of modernity, as well as modern text in our times of, well, seemingly chaos. So we will continue to explore our text in a variety of ways, but we're going to conclude this Torah study with a song from Julie Silver, Chazak, Chazak, Venit Chazek. Be strong, and we will be strengthened.
Candles.
Religiousness. And in this sense, I am religious. So wrote Albert Einstein. We move to the conclusion of our worship service with the words of our adoration, the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu k'goyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יחיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ושמו אחד ושמו אחד.
Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, those who live on in our hearts and our memories in the place we call Olam Haba, the world to come. We call to mind those for whom we are observing the Shiva and Shloshim, the 7 and 30 days since their death. Victoria Torres, the mother of Maria Fishman. Miriam Spanner, the aunt of Harry Jacobs. Benjamin Lustig, nephew of James Greenspan, Jimmy Greenspan. Rose Hemleben, aunt of Sandra Strauss. Celia Atun, sister-in-law of Allegra Gordon. And Tyler Jason Gordon, great-grandson of Allegra Gordon. And our hearts go out to all of you who have suffered these deaths in these immediate days. To those names, we link the names of those whose yahrzeits have occurred during this past Shabbat. George S. Goldman, Bernard Lawrence Levoot, Samuel Levoot, Marion Feigenbaum, Esther Milstein, Evelyn Wolf, Rabbi Chaim Asa, Joseph Schreier, May I. Miller, Rebecca Schreier, Ida Sando Koizem, Bernice Roth, Harold Sugarman, Harold Rotner, Shirley Amador, Leah Ashman, Charles Kravitz, Richard Wiley Loomis, Annette Raymond, Josefa Kanap Demarkovich, Van P. Kennedy, Richard A. Krug, Jacob Rosen, Marjorie Klein, and Oscar Richards. To those names, we link the names of those for whom we are observing the Kaddish mourning period: Howard Brookfield, Eric Lertzman, Sandra Lertzman, Michael Lertzman. Paula Marcus, Don Kessler, Catherine O. Salisbury, George Sachs, Adrian Henschel, Murray Gimbel, Margaret Hershkowitz, Dr. Gerhard Pascas, Jerry Robinson, Rebecca Lomelli, Dwayne Craven, Edith Wins, Cynthia Algra, Gloria Delatorre Wyckoff, Agnes Fuchs, Edward Weil, Nat Crotinger, David Post, Adam Marcus, Wilma Davis, and Walda Mantell. If there's a loved one whom you are remembering, I invite you to share that name at this time. To those whom we have named aloud and to those that we keep named in the quiet places of our hearts and memories, we link as well the names and memory of the men and women of our armed forces who have given their lives for our liberties, those who have given their lives for our safety here at home, the members of our police, our firefighters, and other first responders, members of the Israeli Defense Forces who have given their lives for the hope of peace. And sadly, we add names of those whose life have been taken away through acts of violence, sometimes indeed by our very police officers who are entrusted with all of our safety. In particular, we include George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, two African Americans who are no longer with us. Our hearts go out to their families and the sufferings of their deaths. Zichronam Livracha. May their memories always be for a blessing as we share together the words of our Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach, le'olam ulalmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemeid kudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May all of us who mourn and all of us who are bereaved, may we find through God's eternal presence a source of strength, courage, and hope, above all a source of shalom, of peace. And let us all say, Amen. We conclude this evening with a song that is both a song and a hope and a message to us all. Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav used to say, Kol ha'olam kulo, the entire world is but a narrow bridge, gesher tsar ma'od. And the main thing is, do not be afraid. Our world seems much smaller these days, much smaller because of this pandemic, much smaller because of the news of the violence that has wreaked havoc on families and communities, and so our world seems much smaller today. Indeed, it is but a narrow bridge. Let us not be afraid. Let us continue to speak out for the right, speak out for peace. Let us continue to take strength and courage from each other as we study our text, as we learn from our past, and hopefully create a brighter future for us tomorrow. Gesher Tzar Ma'od. It's but a narrow bridge. We will have to cross it. Let us not be afraid.
Kol haolam kulo gesher tzar me'od, gesher tzar me'od, gesher tzar me'od, od, od, od. Kol haolam kulo gesher tzar me'od, gesher tzar me'od. Behayikar, behayikar, lo lefached klal. Behayikar, behayikar, lo lefached klal. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for joining us on our YouTube stream. Thank you very much, all of our Zoom attendees. Thank you very much for being a part of our Shabbat this Friday evening. Let us go forth to peace. Let us go forth to life. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.